Albo has his foot on the immigration accelerator. Let's get straight into it now. One Nation leader Pauline Hanson joins me. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Look, let's compare the response from the Prime Minister and Peter Dutton to Monday's alleged terrorist attack. Have a listen.
We are a peace-loving nation. This is a time to unite, not divide as a community and as a country. An act of violence in a place of worship is completely unacceptable in our country. It doesn't matter whether you disagree vehemently with a priest or with an imam, with a rabbi, with any person, violence is never the answer.
Pauline Hanson, the PM changed his tone slightly today, but why wasn't he stronger from the start?
Because most of his seats in the Sydney area, because most of Western Sydney is based with Muslims. So anyway, they don't want to upset the Muslim. It all comes down to the Muslim vote, which is nearing 1 million people in the country. That carries a big vote, and that's why they don't want to upset them. Damika, I actually want to thank you for your opening statements. You know, it's about time someone is calling it out the way it is. I feel I've been a lone voice in this for years and years and years to explain to people about multiculturalism, the immigration. Now everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and questioning about multiculturalism. Where I was called a racist, I was ridiculed, I've had death threats against me. Until we as a nation start to ask more of our politicians. Our politicians are gutless, absolutely gutless. They are frightened to say anything. And if we don't stand up and have our say now, we are heading down the path of what England looks like now. England has a lot of areas there that not even the police, no one will go into. It's all Muslim dominated. They actually control the areas. You've got over 1,000 Sharia law courts. We have Muslims in this country marrying, getting on our welfare system, breeding, and we are paying for all this. Yet the politicians turn a blind eye to it. It is a shame what is happening to our country. But until we call it out for what it is, terrorism is prevalent and it has happened in the past in our country, and we need to address it, but give us leadership. This Prime Minister that we have, I am so frustrated with him, as the majority of Australians are. He is weak, he is gutless, and I hope that people throw him out at the next election.
Well, this is a thing. There needs to be a serious and strong conversation about this. We can't be putting it into the too hard basket. People generally want to see some leadership on this topic. And Pauline, you mentioned there the migration rate. Let's talk about that because, as I mentioned, the number of permanent and long-term arrivals, another monthly record of 105,000 in February alone. We're bursting at the seams. But what happened to Labor's plan to halve migration?
They won't do it. They're only going to start, easing up, coming closer to the election to show the voters, oh, well, we're doing something about it. They've done the damage. You said what's happening in net migration. They can't keep up with the construction. And the fact is, in January, we had 125,000 people come into the country. So they've done the damage. We can't cope with it. This is going to go on for years and years. They've put $10 billion into a housing fund, which means the monies that they get in investment will actually build housing. They've admitted they can't do it. They've lied to the Australian people. These people out there who don't follow politics and then hear this announcement think, oh, wonderful, good on Labor. They have done so much damage in this country. I hope people realise this. And, you've got to demand answers from your politicians, from the leaders of the political parties. What are you going to do about it? Don't just give us lip anymore. People want answers how you are going to deal with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're almost out of time, but as I mentioned, that long-term overseas arrivals are now outpacing the construction of new homes at a rate of almost 4 to 1. Now, if you're a first home buyer, Pauline Hanson, you may as well give up at this point.
A lot of people have. Let me tell you about this too, just quickly. Last year, between 22 and 23, we had 737,000 people who come into the country. 51,605 were actually skilled migrants. Of that, only 1,800 were in the building trade. That's all.
Wow.
So how the hell are they going to build these houses? They can't. And what I'm hearing from people is a lot of the Australian builders are actually having trouble getting jobs because they're actually employing the overseas tradies that may come into the country. We have a real problem. and they're not dealing with it.
We certainly have a real problem. One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for joining us on the show this evening.